Call me Boats. Today is part 1 on how to change the head gaskets on a Kohler Pro 23 horsepower V-twin engine in my Craftsman GT3000. This engine can be found in most John Deere's, Cub Cadets, you name it. If you have this engine, this is the video for you. So let's get started. Okay, this is the engine that I'm talking about. If it's the same one you have, like I said, it's the Kohler Pro, and it's a 23 horsepower V-twin. And to get to the head gaskets, we have to come down over here and have to remove the valve covers on both sides. To get to the heads, you have the 4 head bolts here to take off. You got to take this top cover off and all your carburetor linkage and everything like that. Let me show you what it's doing. This is my second tractor. This one is not messing up as bad as my first tractor. This is tractor 2. Tractor 1 is smoking really bad. I'm going to show you that in my shed here. Pardon the mess. I have 3 sheds worth of stuff crammed in there, but hopefully we can work around that. So to get started, first off, you're going to want to remove your hood. That just kind of has little hooks on it for a hinge. Yours may vary. This is on the Craftsman GT3000. Your tractor might be a John Deere. These engines that I'm going to be working on today, they put those in a lot of different tractors. So the way it's set up might be slightly different from yours, but the engine will likely be very similar. So first off, don't mind the mess in here. This is 3 sheds worth of stuff crammed into one. And get the camera a little bit closer here so you can see what I'm doing. First thing you're going to want to do is remove your air cleaner, of course. And that just unscrews. Get that out of the way. And you're going to want to take your air filter off. Oh. But before we get any further, let me show you what it's doing. Now this is going to be a cold start, so it's not going to show up as much as it would if it was warmed up. See all that smoke coming out of that engine? Plug. See, that shouldn't be doing that. That's a lot of smoke. And also, there's probably going to be some coming out of the dipstick. No, not quite yet. If I run this a long time, I get a lot of smoke out of the dipstick as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the spark plug and let's take a look at those real quick. Right tools here. And make sure that you don't drop your spark plug. Oh yeah, look at that. That is an oil burning cylinder. See all that black soot and crud on there? Yep, that's where it is. Let's check the other side and see if it's just as bad. I could have a double blown gasket, or if I could just have the single. It doesn't matter because I'm going to be changing both of them because I got to tear all this down. I might as well do both of them, and I don't ever have to worry about them again. I've owned this tractor since 2003. It is a 2002 model. So it's got a lot of hours on it. I use it year-round, mowing and snow throwing, and I used to use it for grading my driveway as well. But a couple of years ago, I picked up a second tractor, and now it splits the duties, and I'm not running this one as much as I used to, but it still gets a lot of use. Let's see what this plug looks like. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're both burning. They're both just covered with oil. So it's a double head gasket kind of day. Holy smokes. Well, it's a good thing I decided I was going to change both sides anyway. So that works in my favor, I suppose. Okay, fellas. Before you get started on doing a job like this, you're going to have to order parts. And let me show you what part number you need and what comes in the kit. You're going to need to order this. I liked the Kohler Genuine Parts part of this. A lot of times if you buy something like, say, off that Jungle website, you get Chinese parts, and I guess that's okay if you don't have the budget for the Kohler parts, but I prefer to go with the original manufacturer. So here's the part number you're going to need. You can pause that to write that down. And in this kit, first off comes your instruction sheet, and gives you the directions on how to do this job. On the back side of the sheet, it also gives you your torque sequences and what you need to torque your bolts to. It gives you two different figures. The first one is if you have the bolt style on your engine, it gives you a set of numbers for that, and it also gives you a set of numbers for the nuts and washers style, with a preset stud in the engine block. And you can pause that to kind of figure that out. Now on my tractors, both of them have the stud, nut, and washer. And so with the torque values that they give on that sheet, your initial torque is 150 inch-pounds, which if you don't have an inch-pound torque wrench, if you have a foot-pound torque wrench, you're going to have to go 12.5 foot-pounds on your initial torque. And your final torque, it lists 315 inch-pounds. That's converted to 26.25 foot-pounds for the foot-pound torque wrench. Now, let me show you what's in the kit. Oh, and by the way, you can get to the conversion on that by taking your inch-pounds and dividing by 12, and that's what will give you your foot-pounds. So let's take a look inside the kit here. Here's the head gasket itself. This is a upgraded head gasket from the factory. It's a little bit beefier. It has the steel reinforcer around here. Now when you put these on, you put them on with the numbers facing out, and then put your engine back together. Also in the kit, if you have the metal intake manifold, it gives you 2 intake manifold gaskets. It also gives you 2 exhaust manifold gaskets. If you have the plastic style intake manifold, it gives you the replacement O-rings for that. And I believe these do the same job, only with a different style intake manifold. It also gives you 4 replacement nuts and 4 replacement washers. So that's a rundown of the parts, and I forget what I paid for that kit, but you can find it almost anywhere. Just do a Google search for the part number, and Amazon has them, a few other distributors have them, and you can pick the one that gives you what you feel is the best price and order it up. Also, what you might consider doing as well that doesn't come in this kit is replacement valve cover O-rings. Just in case those mess up on you while you're doing the job, you'll have them on hand. So let's get back to the repair. Okay, first things first, let's get this top cover off. Those are 7mm bolts, or you can just use a straight screwdriver, flat tip screwdriver. Sometimes I get my words mixed up. If you've watched any of my videos, you know this. Okay, and that cover comes right off. Make sure you don't lose any of your screws. Put this back here. Okay, that covers off. Now we're going to take off this air cleaner part. Looks like it's just held down by those 2. I believe that's a 10mm. Okay, now that that's got some nuts off of that, you're just going to want to carefully disconnect this hose and set that cup aside. Ooh, that needs cleaned. I've got horrible oil saturation all over the place. Okay, now you want to take off your air breather. It's 2 8mm bolts, or screws I should say. And that just plugs into the valve cover. Just have to wiggle it out of here. There you go. Set that aside. And again, don't lose your screws or your bolts, because you're going to need them. And don't forget this spacer plate in there too, as well. Let's get started on taking this cover off. You're going to have to take off your fuel pump, your oil dipstick, and there's various bolts around this. I don't remember how many there are. So these are 8mm. Side. Now, I guess you're probably wondering why I have this up on my ramps. And to tell you the truth, the reason why it's up on my ramps is because when you reinstall the head gaskets, everything has got to be dry and oil free. if you have a little bit of oil on that gasket, that's going to give you some problems. Voltage regulator's back here on the side of the cover, and you just need to unplug it. There it goes. It just needed a little persuasion. There we go. Just need to unplug it, and you need to take your ground wire off. But that is another bolt on the side here. Now, if you want, what you can do is put the screws back in the screw holes that they came out of, so that you don't get them mixed up. Because, for instance, you notice the difference between these two. One is all black, one is kind of silvery, shiny. This one here goes in your voltage regulator, and you don't want to mix them up, because you may end up having ground problems and all kinds of stuff. While you're at it, you may want to check and change the O-ring that goes on this dipstick. Those can be had at any auto parts store for fairly cheap. Now, you don't have to disconnect that, you can just let that hang, and I'll show you why in a moment. If you disconnect it, you're just, you know, you're adding more work to this. Like I said, you can just put the bolts right back in the holes. Got 2 more bolts to do, and we'll be ready to take this cover off. Unfortunately, the way these are put in there, you really can't get any lubricant on these bolts before you take them out. And unfortunately, because it's an aluminum head and a steel bolt, well, you're going to have that, I forget what you call it, the cross metal contamination, I don't remember what it's called. I'll probably put that on the bottom of the screen, but that corrosion will cause things like bolts to seize and break off when you don't need them seized or broken off. Fortunately, the one that broke is just a bolt that holds this cover on, and it's not anything vital. Now when this goes back together, you got these metal plates, and of course you're gonna move them out of place when you take this apart. You're gonna bend them out of place and out of shape, and you're gonna have to fight to get those back together, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Alright, see, this cover should come right off now. Let's take that off, set that aside. Okay, looks like I have the aluminum intake manifold, so I'm going to use the regular gaskets instead of those O-rings. Now when we get to it, got to disconnect our linkages, our choke and our throttle, and unbolt this. We're just going to lay that on top of the engine and leave that, get that out of our way. So let's do that next. Let's get the valve covers off next. I believe those are 10 millimeter. Oh, nope, no they're not. Back to the 9 millimeter. Let's break those loose by hand first. It's always a good idea to have some carbon choke cleaner on hand, or even brake cleaner, brake parts cleaner I should say. Always comes in handy. Oh, and this is your coil kill switch wires. You want to unplug those and kind of get them out of the way. Now when you go to put this back together, it's very important that you put those back on there. Otherwise, your engine will just continue to run. And remember that out of the 4 bolts, one of them has a washer, the other 3 do not. The one that has the washer goes here on that wire loom. Okay, and I just need to get the linkages disconnected, and we'll be good to go. Okay, let's get started on disconnecting these linkages. For that, you're going to need a T20 Torx bit. Of course, that will vary from manufacturer to manufacturer. You may just have a regular bolt in there, but for mine, for this Craftsman, I had to have the T20 Torx bits. Gotta love these cobalt ratchets. They are kind of nice. They also extend, so if you find yourself in a situation where you need a little bit more torque, this bracket here that you have to take off. Okay, this is loose. Now back here there's a spring. I don't know if you can see it. Just the camera. Back here is a spring, and you gotta remember which hole that goes in. That's for your governor. Well, I think that's for your governor. It might be a return spring for your throttle. I might be wrong. Anyway, just got to remember which hole that goes in. Okay, now that I've got the spring disconnected and the choke linkage disconnected from the bracket. We can lift the intake manifold up and out of the way, or I should be able to. Oh wait, I forgot this one. I forgot all about this one. Okay, before we do that, there is a little clip. I don't know if you can see it or not. Bring the camera in a little closer. There's a clip right here. You need to pop that clip off, and then you can disconnect this linkage, and then we can lift the intake manifold out of the way. There we go. Now that rod will just slip out of the hole there, and you don't want to lose this little part because that's what locks that rod in place. Now we're all set to lift this up and then just kind of set it out of the way. Thanks for watching part 1 of how to change your head gasket on the Kohler Pro 23 horsepower V-twin engine in my Craftsman GT3000. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon so you know when I'm going to be posting my next video. Please subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below and I'll get right back to you. Until next time, stand by for part 2. It's coming soon. Thanks for watching.